and welcome to Murder Dictionary Podcast. My name is Brianna, and that is Courtney.
Hello.
So before we get into our story today, we just wanted to remind you, of course, of all the things that you're going to find in our description and show notes for every episode. So if you want to read more about the story that we're going to talk about tonight, we always...
Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? That's where Home Advisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, Home Advisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free Home Advisor app to start your next project.
Have some links to resources that we've used to research. So if you want to do more reading or look at some interrogation videos, stuff like that, we will always link those. And then we have links to our social media. So if you wanted to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and get updates about the new episodes that are coming out, or some memes, or some just awesome information, then we will have those links in the show notes. And the last thing that'll be in there is links to our Threadless and our Patreon. So on our Patreon, we have some bonus episodes and small merch items like stickers and magnets and stuff like that. And on our Threadless, you can get bigger items like phone cases and t-shirts, sweaters, stuff like that. So the new people that are on our Patreon are Emily, Cassidy, Super Chelsea, Megan, and Angie. So thanks again, guys, for your support on Patreon.
Thanks so much.
I think that's pretty much it, and we can get started on our story. Tonight, we are doing letter B again for bikers. We've got another biker story.
Hooray.
You're so excited. You've been completely in...
I'm immersed.
Yes.
In the world.
The deep obsession of patches.
It's been a lot.
Yeah.
Lots of image searching.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, because they're all different.
Yeah.
And they all mean something different to each person.
I couldn't get mixed up in that. I've just been focusing on the people and how much I'm just like, fuck that guy. Well, every single person, I'm like, what a dick. Every person in the story.
That's it.
That's all these biker stories.
Yeah, they're all just like innate assholes. There's a few nice guys, you know, and there are legit motorcycle riders.
Yeah.
But they even say, it was some article that I was reading about when I was doing the research on this, that it was like 9 out of 10 don't even know how to ride a motorcycle now.
Right.
Like nowadays in the biker clubs.
Yeah. It's just a lifestyle thing. It's just a hanging out, having friends.
That's exactly what it is.
Yep. So today we're talking about another biker story that involves Wayne Kellestine.
Of the Bandidos.
The Bandidos. There's a lot, actually, if you look up, as one does, just Google's biker murders. Sure. Just a normal thing. A lot of Bandidos stuff comes up. Have you noticed that?
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the most common.
And it's an international because they started in Texas and they moved all over, and then they have Ontario chapter and all kinds of different international ones.
Right.
So, yeah, but I just can't wait for the day that our laptops are taken.
Right? They just get confiscated.
These searches we do. My God, it's going to be a really bad day.
So the area that we're discussing today is, like you said, an international one. So this takes place near Toronto, and they call it Shedden, the Shedden Massacre. But as I've heard, it's just like slightly outside of Shedden.
Yeah, it was like a little bit more rural Shedden, which is near Toronto in Ontario. And I looked it up because I just took a Google map and checked it out. And it's about 2 hours northeast of Detroit. Or it would be just directly across Lake Erie, north of Cleveland. So it's not that far.
No.
I mean...
No, but for a gang that started in Texas,
Sure.
It made it quite a ways.
Yeah, they sure did.
So the main person that we're talking about, the kind of ringleader of this crime, was Wayne Kellestine, which his nickname was Weiner.
Weiner Kellestine, yes.
Yeah. And he had been involved in the Toronto, Ontario outlaw motorcycle club community for many decades. He started really young as just to hang around. And he worked his way up the ranks through various biker clubs, just kind of living the lifestyle and being kind of a peripheral member, it sounds like.
Yeah, he definitely had like the biker lifestyle running through him. He was hardcore from the beginning. He wanted to prove himself.
He'd been a member of several clubs, including the Loners, MC, and had previously founded a club that he called the Holocaust. Who the fuck calls their club the Holocaust?
A Nazi?
Right? The combination of biker plus Nazi.
When I heard that, when I'm reading, it's like, oh, the Holocaust. I wasn't even surprised.
Really?
Yeah, it was
I
like,
was totally
this
shocked.
Is right in line with Wayne.
Yeah, I guess at the point that I read that, I didn't know anything about him. That was probably one of the first.
So much more ridiculous.
Yeah. So Wayne's criminal record went back to 1967 and included convictions for 3 assaults causing bodily harm, multiple weapons charges, dozens of counts for like theft and property crimes and escape charges, just all over the place. Up and down, through and through criminal.
Those were just convictions, too.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's important to point out.
Oh
Who knows what he did that he didn't even get caught for?
Ridiculous.
And we know in the biker lifestyle that there's just this complete code of silence.
Yeah.
So how many things did he actually do that nobody talked about so he couldn't get convicted?
A lot.
He was originally denied membership to the Outlaws when a chapter opened nearby in 1977 because the bikers in the Outlaws gang said that he would bring, quote, too much heat on the club since he was a well-known longtime criminal and he was always up to no good. So they really didn't want to be associated with him.
They have enough trouble as it is.
And I mean, that's pretty telling. It's an outlaw fucking motorcycle club and they don't want anything to do with Wayne.
This one
You got to
guy,
be the worst of the worst.
This guy. Nope, he can't join.
Right.
He's too much trouble for our outlaw motorcycle gang.
You wanted to know where the line is, and it's here.
It's Weiner.
Its name is Weiner.
Yeah.
So he was granted membership to a satellite club called the Annihilators, and they operated out of nearby St. Thomas. And Wayne eventually moved up those ranks to become the president of the Annihilators.
This was a pretty ragtag bunch, too. And then Wayne becomes the president. It was just kind of like, oh, those assholes over there, the Annihilators.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really kind of easily dismissible.
Yeah. They didn't even want him, you can't sit here.
Right?
I mean, they did not want him around, like his lunch table.
Seats taken.
Yeah, totally. That is exactly how it was.
Yeah. At Wayne's 1982 trial for assault, witnesses testified that it was pretty much common knowledge in the criminal underworld that Wayne had murdered a man named Giovanni Di Filippo in 1978. After an investigation, police were really sure that Wayne had been the one that killed Giovanni, but they lacked enough forensic evidence to convict him, and so he got away with it.
Everyone knew this. Everyone knew he did it.
It's so crazy when you hear that. But it really does come down to forensics if they can't convict. And the only other thing that oftentimes you see in cases is the confessions. Yeah. Either someone has to come forward as a witness or a confession, or there's forensics, and they had neither.
And I mean, Wayne just is not the smartest guy, but somehow.
Yeah, he keeps getting away with things.
He's getting away with murder.
Yes.
Literally getting away with murder.
Really? Yeah, he's the one that the phrase was invented for.
Go figure. This guy.
Around the time of the trial in 1982, Wayne bought a 50-acre farm that became the new club hangout where they had all their meetings and got together and just kind of chilled out. He immediately painted the Annihilators logo on the barn, which was a fist clenching lightning bolts forming an SS.
Again, are we shocked?
I know. I don't know why I'm shocked.
I don't either.
I just can't believe. I don't know.
This is right in line with Wayne.
I'm really not an optimist, but then I think about my attitude towards people sometimes.
Right now, I think.
And I'm like, no, they can't do that.
I'm like, oh yeah, no, we've got lots of propaganda coming in the future.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of flags.
It's just, I just don't want to believe that people like that still exist. But here he is.
Oh, Not only that,
Painting a barn.
Janelle from Teen Mom is married to a motherfucker who posted himself wrapped in the goddamn Confederate flag 2 days ago on Instagram. These people exist. We're talking about Canada too. It's like, oh no, they're everywhere. This is real.
I don't want to believe it. I
know. I don't either.
And I'm not naive. I'm a smart person. I just really, really don't want to believe it so deeply that it shocks me when I see this stuff.
I want it to be shocking. And I just don't feel shocked by much anymore. And
but if there's anyone I wouldn't be shocked by, it would be these bikers, to be honest.
That's what I thought.
There's a lot of racism in the biker community, it seems.
Surprise me.
And of course, we're talking about bad apples spoiling the bunch. It's not like every single biker is like that. But
you can't see my face, but I rolled my eyes in the back of my head. There's
the
just
percentage
so much racism.
is high, yeah.
So much racism.
In the community.
Not just like, I mean, it's systemic racism.
Right.
Family racism. Down the line. It's just icky.
As Wayne's role in the gang grew, he became even more of a pain in the ass, if that's imaginable. And although people knew him, said he was a legend in his own mind, he had this idea that was pretty grand of himself. Everybody kind of dismissed him and knew he was just kind of...
I think he really got off on the president title, but he was really just like, hey, come hang out in my barn.
He wasn't that important. He was really just kind of, and I think the power went to his head. So people are just like, what a jerk. Like, what an asshole.
Yes.
It was known in the community that he often introduced himself by saying, quote, "Hi, I'm Wayne Kellestine. I sell drugs and I kill people."
Great line.
Is it?
Well, all things are relative.
If you're Wayne, that's your signature move.
That's your opening statement.
What was Dan Broderick's line? It's just like that, right?
Oh yeah, he handed out his business card that said MD. Oh, AMD, almost medical doctor.
Right.
That asshole.
It's just like that.
Yes.
He thinks this is winning over people. And like we saw with Betty, it's got to work on someone.
1 in like 100 will fall for this.
If there wasn't a couple people that were impressed or whatever, panty droppers, then he would stop. But someone it's working on. So he keeps going.
I want to see the woman that line works on. I want to see that.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
She's a gem of a lady.
She is PBOL. Property of Bandidos old lady.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sorry. Proud Bandidos old lady.
PBOL. That's what they called the ladies.
Yeah, they do.
True story.
You can get it on a goddamn vest and you can wear it yourself.
To prove that he was this super tough outlaw biker, anytime he saw dog shit on the ground, he would pick it up and eat it while laughing. And this, of course, at the time was referred to as eccentric behavior in quotes, but this is pretty gnarly and awful.
This was the first time in my life I really maybe can't remember any other time that I had a physical reaction when I read something and was just so grossed out.
Oh, yeah.
And I read several accounts of this behavior that everyone was like, oh, he's just a weird guy. Who just picks shit up off the ground and eats it in front? Oh, my God. I'm so grossed out. It's like a physical thing. Like I'm hot. It's just gross.
I know. And remember we were talking about the case where they smeared poop. And there is something psychological going on with people that actually have these fecal involvements, we'll call them.
Yeah.
But to go even further and eat animal feces, actually eat it.
At the bar. Having
like
a smoke break.
Like it's a party trick.
That's exactly how it was treated. That's Wayne. He eats shit off the ground at parties. Or at the bar on a fucking Monday night.
That's not even, to me, like a psychological thing that you can trace back. That's just fucked up. I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. And I don't know what makes you go, this is my move. This is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's my signature
party trick. And I think
trick.
It's because then people like me, if I saw it in person, I would just start puking all over. It would be like the scene, isn't it Stand By Me? When it just pukes everywhere and everyone starts throwing up. That's how it would be.
Right.
It would be bad.
Chain reaction.
Oh, it would be so bad. And I think he probably gets off on that part of it.
Yeah.
But they just called it eccentric behavior.
Which is crazy. And other people that knew him would say things like he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I mean, that's an understatement. Eccentric or, a little bit slow. That's a major understatement for what's going on here. Clearly, there's some bigger things at play.
Yeah.
So one example of this not being the sharpest knife in the drawer kind of stuff was that people said he also tossed nails around the parking lot of the clubhouse so that basically the police would have their tires pop if they got too close. But of course, beyond this, he would forget to tell people that he did that. And so a lot of people that would visit him that were in the gang or his friends ended up popping their tires.
Huh?
It's just the stupidest line of defense,
It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what it is? It's like drunk thinking.
Yeah.
It's, I'm Wayne Kellestine. I do drugs. I kill people. I'm just a stupid asshole.
It really is.
And it's funny because other bikers who were just like normal people hanging out in this club, every single person was just like, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, instantly. And anyone that had to deal with him was just like, oh,
yeah,
God
he's stupid.
Damn.
He's an idiot.
This is going to be miserable.
Right.
He's eating shit off the ground.
On top of that, he's on a power trip now.
Oh, he's so...
Not only is he the pain in the ass from the beginning, now he's the president.
Yeah, he's in charge. Oh,
yep.
God.
Yeah. I don't know. This kind of reminds me of when I was little. My dad is in construction. And he would take me to job sites and he would have me pick up nails because it would pop tires. But he would make it seem like it's the most important job on the entire site. Like, you're saving everyone's tires right now.
He's right.
And it would keep me busy for a long time.
This is funny because I was at
perfect busy work as a kid.
I was at a building like 2 days ago and we pull in and I'm like, there's a lot of construction going on. You
got to watch out.
Nails everywhere. Like, what? And he opens the car door and there's a goddamn nail right there. And I'm just like, you guys.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It happens. They do pop tires. But you would think you could actually tell people, especially on motorcycles, don't go on the main road because you can actually just go around and avoid the nails.
Okay, yes.
But he's not smart enough to even tell people that.
No, he's not.
In addition to just all these sort of weird things he was doing and stupid things and criminality, Wayne was also known throughout the area, like we said earlier, as a racist, an anti-Semite, and a homophobe. He would do things like protest the local gay pride events by waving the Confederate flag. And the only reason he used a Confederate flag instead of a Nazi flag was to avoid hate crime charges. That's it. Otherwise, he would have been out there with a Nazi flag.
There's so many pictures of him out there in the press and just like in magazines and stuff. Like they have pictures of him at like events with this flag or signs just acting like a stupid ass.
Wayne and his best friend, David Wyke, whose father was a Hitler Youth member, were active in groups such as the Bikers Against Pedophiles, who advocated themselves as kind of this group of people that were like saving a generation of children from what they characterized as deviant homosexual pedophiles.
I just can't even imagine. Every time I'm like, wait, his dad was a member of the Hitler Youth? What was that like growing up? That's your dad growing up?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And on top of that one, I don't know. And maybe this is just silly thinking because you can't apply logic to this kind of deep-seated systemic hatred.
No.
But I don't know. Statistically, all the people that are pedophiles by a landslide are straight males.
This is a valid point too.
And I know that you can't apply logic to someone that's just has this seething hatred that's based out of no intellect at all.
Not the Weiner.
But it just is striking to me anytime someone brings up homosexuals and pedophiles in the same sentence. Because those are two different things, right? Oh, no, you don't, because you're a Nazi idiot.
Yeah, I was reading about it and it said that basically he just put anyone gay is a deviant pedophile. And that was what their organization was basically about, spreading that image or that message. But they did it by saying like bikers against pedophiles, but it was really just like bikers against gays.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
I mean, it's just two separate things.
Yeah, there's not a correlation.
No, it's just a way for him to get his hate messages out.
It's just
and have it under the disguise of protecting children.
Yes,
which
and that's
is just
the worst part.
Awful.
That's the worst part of the whole thing.
In 1989, Wayne stole a limousine and he evaded police in a car chase. Eventually, he crashed the limo into the clubhouse of the Outlaws, which was that gang that rejected him. In June 1991, Wayne shot an outlaw member named Thomas Roger Harmsworth 4 times. But nothing came from this event because Thomas wouldn't testify against Wayne. And therefore, the attempted murder charges were dropped.
A lot of not testifying going on.
It really is that code of silence.
Nothing sticks.
And this is the person that he shot, refuses to, you know what I mean? I understand if Wayne's own club won't testify against him, but the person that you shot won't even testify against you because of the biker code. Even though this person tried to kill you.
Brandon, it's the code.
I keep forgetting about the code.
Well, you better remember.
So 2 days after those charges were dropped, the body of David Sparky O'Neill was found. And David O'Neill was wanted in connection with the murder of a local cop. And it was believed that Wayne led the police to Sparky's body in exchange for those attempted murder charges being dropped.
I believe this.
Yes. So in addition to people not testifying against him, they were like, well, let's just get some information out of you, it seems. Let's try and spin this.
He was crazy about, you're a rat. Oh, you know, this and
right.
that, right? And
like
he's
any
a
biker.
snitch himself.
Mm-hmm.
That really drives me crazy.
And you see it throughout his interactions with cops. He clearly has a rapport with these cops and he's given them information. However, he still claims to live this biker code.
And also all the convictions he's had, and he doesn't have a really long-term sentence.
Right. He's clearly gotten his charges reduced. He's gotten reduced sentencing. He's cooperating.
He's making deals.
Absolutely. About a year later, in March of 1992, law enforcement began to crack down on the local bikers, mostly because they were kind of sick and tired of dealing with their criminal activity and all the violence going on. So police visited Wayne's house and found him surrounded by guns, cocaine, and of course, Nazi and Confederate memorabilia. During a 1993 psych evaluation, prison psychologists noted that Wayne's criminality appears to be a matter of choice of lifestyle, and also diagnosed Wayne as a paranoid narcissist.
Yeah, Wayne was just choosing this lifestyle.
That's so striking to me that a psychologist would note that, he wants this.
Yeah.
This is what he wants to do. I know it's not like, this is better, this is worse. But like if he was a psychopath, it would kind of be different.
Yeah.
But he just wants to be a psychopath.
And for some reason, I feel like, I know it's a diagnosis and it's nothing to like shake your head at. But like paranoid narcissist to me isn't as serious as what I would imagine they would find wrong with him.
Right.
And then when they don't find anything wrong with him and they're like, he's making a conscious decision to do this. That's scarier.
Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like...
He's not criminally insane.
No.
At any
He knows
point.
exactly what's going on and he's making conscious decisions to stay involved in the biker lifestyle and do awful things.
The only thing influencing him possibly is drugs and alcohol.
Right.
That's it. Other than that, he is totally on board.
Absolutely.
He's on the crazy train.
That's what he's on board?
Yeah. He's got like a bottle of Jack and Coke in the fucking other hand. Like this guy's goddamn insane.
He's got like a Confederate Snuggie
Yeah.
on.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
That's
the
Weiner.
Visual. Oh wow.
Since 1977, when both the Hells Angels and the Outlaws started chapters in Canada, there was this power struggle between rival biker gangs for control of the Canadian territory. For most of this struggle, Quebec was Hells Angels territory, and then Ontario was Outlaws territory. The years following this struggle plunged all the outlaw motorcycle clubs into what's been called the biker wars. And they went on in varying places at varying times, and they continued through the 80s and into the mid-90s.
These biker wars went into like the 2000s, by the
Yeah.
way. Like totally.
They kept going, but that was the main chunk of it.
So crazy. I mean, people planning bombs, exploding other members, burning down houses, like mayhem.
When I searched biker wars, because I was like, okay, let's get some more information on this before moving into the Wayne story. And then I started looking, I was like, I can't even research all this. There's
It's impossible to read.
so many incidences, so many murders. I just couldn't even dive into it. I was like, oh, I just got to say that happened for these couple decades and then move on.
That's exactly where I was at.
Right.
It's like,
there wasn't enough time to go
how do
into it.
you wrap this up and put a bow on it?
No.
You kind of can't.
It's a lot.
And you feel like you're really dismissing a lot because you're just like, oh, it was a fucking biker wars and 1,000 people died.
Yeah.
But it's like, also, by the way, these are people deciding something like an extracurricular activity that is causing them all to fight and die. What are we doing here? For like 30 years.
It's crazy.
Oh my God.
I would want to go into it more, but like I said, we don't have the time, and there's
Whole nother
so
episode.
many. There's so many.
You couldn't even do it in one.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just important to note that there was this fight for territory and that there was a lot of the different local gangs that were involved going back and forth and retaliating for many decades. There was always a conflict going on at this time. And most of the time it was due to these various small to mid-size motorcycle clubs trying to overtake territory and power from the bigger, more powerful clubs like the Hells Angels. As president of the Annihilators, Wayne had gained enough power by this time that the Hells Angels had actually sponsored a murder attempt on Wayne during the biker wars.
He made a name for himself.
This was probably perfectly playing into his narcissism and his self-obsession.
He must be doing it right if the Hells Angels want him dead.
Right.
I mean, that just absolutely solidifies all your ideas of like, this is my choice. Mm-hmm. And my choice is good. But he's a horrible decision maker.
But his delusions of power and grandeur just completely confirmed by this murder attempt.
Oh, that's terrible too. It's doing is just making him think he's right.
Absolutely. Throughout this time, multiple attempts were made on Wayne's life, and everywhere he went, violence and death usually followed him. So did a lot of people being convicted for long prison sentences with gun and drug charges. Again, this has got to be due to him making deals. Yeah,
because he was convicted. He was put in for short term, 18 months, couple years here and there. Couple months. Like it was, it's very sporadic, his sentencing.
Yeah, nothing big.
Nothing big.
At all. By August 2004, after the biker wars had kind of settled down a little bit, not completely, like you said, there was this merging of clubs, and the Annihilators Motorcycle Club was, quote, patched over into the larger motorcycle club called the Bandidos, who were originally founded in Texas.
The Bandidos absorbed several clubs, and you call this patching over.
Yes.
Absorption of other clubs. So now everybody's Bandito, and there's different little chapters, as they say.
At this point in time, Wayne was out of jail again and had become the sergeant at arms of the Toronto chapter of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club.
Terrible idea to make him be the one in charge of the guns.
Is it?
Yeah, I do think it is. Or it's the best idea ever.
Yeah, he's definitely got an arsenal, and he's crazy enough to just kill without thinking about it.
When they ride in packs down the road, the president is usually at the front, and then the sergeant at arms is like the one, and then to the right, back, so that if anything happens, they can pull their weapon and protect the president.
Wow. That's Wayne.
That's the Weiner.
After the death of a local drug dealer, police believed that the Bandidos were most likely involved, so they put the chapter under surveillance and they tapped all their phones. The Bandidos' mother chapter, the American leadership in Houston, Texas, had become kind of tired of the inability of the Toronto chapter to make money and pay their dues, and they also didn't like the leadership of John Boxer Muscadier, who was the president at the time. So Houston ordered the chapter stripped of their patches, which of course didn't happen without a struggle. This is their whole identity, you know?
This is everything. Everything he's worked so hard for.
The Toronto Bandidos completely refused to give up their patches, and they grouped up with some of the members of the Winnipeg chapter who still also wanted to be in the Bandidos. And they formed this group called the No Surrender Crew, as in not giving up the patches.
Just ragtag Bandidos leftover guys.
And they really are kind of the rejects of the Bandidos.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are.
They weren't, okay, so they were criminals, a lot of them. However, they weren't successful enough at being criminals to make their dues and make money and be profitable for the Texas Bandidos main chapter.
Most of these guys are relatively normal people with normal jobs.
Yeah.
Who just were like kind of the odd guy that they didn't really like or whatever. Okay, I can get into this club, so I get into this club.
Yeah.
It's that island of misfit toys.
Kind of, yeah. And it's a social thing.
Yeah.
I think it was just kind of a community, friendship, fellowship.
A lot of them
kind
didn't like
stuff.
each other either.
Right.
Which is funny to me.
Yeah.
They don't even get along.
But it's kind of just this group of people that already exist to party with.
Yeah.
So if you're one random by yourself, now you've got some drinking buddies.
Exactly.
And you can go ride motorcycles together and hang out. And once in a while you deal drugs.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah, you sure do. And at Christmas time, you have these toy rallies to cover it all up.
But again, they're not successful enough to be making money. So they get kicked out, you know? By this point, Wayne had developed a meth habit and was near foreclosure on his farm. So in order to make money, he began selling meth and making money for the No Surrender group. So the Houston, Texas Bandidos leadership had heard through the biker grapevine that the No Surrender crew were still wearing their Bandido patches, which of course was a huge violation of the rules and protocol.
Oh my goodness.
How dare they?
Oh.
Shouldn't they have standards?
The nerve.
So a meeting was called at Peace Arch Park, which was in British Columbia at the Washington state border. And they used this location because most of the bikers couldn't enter each other's countries due to their criminal records. So this was right on the border and they could actually meet together. That's where they held a lot of their meetings because it straddled that US-Canada border and they could talk without getting in trouble.
So interesting to me. I looked up so much about this park. It just sounded so wild to me that they can't even get in each other's countries, but they have meetings and it's a known biker hangout. And made me think it's not just bikers, like it's criminals.
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's everyone goes to this park, but I want to go sometime.
Honestly, that's what I was thinking when I was reading that. I was like, oh my God, I want to just go hang out there, have some picnics, see if we can see some biker meetings. There's got to be all sorts of crazy shit going on at the border there.
I'm into this.
I'm on the same page.
Okay, good.
So Wayne and his Nazi BFF we talked about, Dave Wyke, whatever.
He really is his Nazi BFF. That's what I wrote every time. It was just like you can see him like jitterbug.
Right.
Like that's how I picture them is that music video.
Yes.
Of them together just bouncing around like, oh, Nazi hats or some shit.
Kind of, yeah.
Like just, they take themselves really seriously too. Yeah. And it's like, you guys are just fucking idiots.
Right. So they went to this meeting and they brought along a former cop named Michael Taz Sandham of the Winnipeg chapter. And they met with Peter Mongo Price from the Houston Bandidos leadership.
And also Taz Sandham, he is very quiet about the fact that he's a former cop.
Yes.
Doesn't want anybody to know because that's really actually against the rules of these biker clubs.
Absolutely. It's a
big time,
huge secret.
No law enforcement. So he tries really hard to cover up his shit. It's an interesting, like, you know, you got Wayne over here who this is his lifestyle. And then this guy's just like former law enforcement.
But it also makes me question, since you and I are kind of on the same page, that Wayne cooperates. We know this.
Oh, yeah.
So did he maybe meet Taz and kind of invite him in and know that he was a cop and just kind of give him a pass? Because clearly he doesn't have as much problem with the cops as he claims.
Honestly, as far as I can tell, he had no idea because he it's in here. We talk about it in a little bit, but he went to bat and would be like, he's not a cop. Don't you dare say that about him. Michael, Taz, Sando, he's a great guy. He's my friend. He's not a cop. Like, don't you dare. You disrespected him. He would never, ever.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something in me that says that he was cool with it.
I didn't think about that angle of it, that because he cooperates, maybe he doesn't care. I just don't think, because Wayne doesn't give a fuck about anybody. You're under the bus with Wayne.
Yeah, that's true.
So
there's no reason for him to protect him.
To social climb. So if he can get rid of that guy, that's one less.
Yeah.
And if he's a cop, that's the fastest way to do it.
Yeah.
I think he would have done it. I don't know. This is a good one. This is a good dialogue.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't either.
And we're applying our Courtney and Brianna logic.
That's right.
To something that Wayne's thinking.
True.
And we ain't no Wayne.
Wayne's been up for weeks thinking about this.
True.
So the fuck knows what's real.
He's seeing cops where there aren't cops, but not seeing a cop where there is one, Yeah. He's on that state. So Taz would later testify that Mongo said if Wayne and his crew could successfully pull the patches from the other members of the No Surrender crew, then Wayne would be the new leader of the Canadian Bandidos, and they would all become fully patched members, anyone that participated. On March 25th, 2006, Michael Taz Sandham sets things in motion by leaving for Wayne's farmhouse with the Winnipeg Boys, or as they are known, the Farm Crew. And they start to prep for attacking the other No Surrender crew members. When they arrived, Wayne provided all the necessary guns, even though, of course, he had 2 lifetime bans on owning weapons. He still kept an arsenal. And somewhere I read that included like a rocket launcher or bazooka type thing.
Yes.
Not just guns. We're talking about all sorts of crazy weapons. Wayne also pulled out his wet work kit, which consisted of hydrochloric acid and gloves, and he said he always used this kit after he killed people.
That was weird to me.
Oh, it is? It's weird?
Like,
I don't know if that's the way to put it, because you were not surprised about the Nazi stuff, but now this is weird to you?
Yeah, because he doesn't seem like...
Oh, that makes sense. He's not the type to really...
The foresight to have hydrochloric acid to clean up after... Because, like...
That makes sense.
He just doesn't seem...
Yeah, I feel like that's
like
more
a criminal
of a
mastermind.
Straight up psychopath criminal mastermind thing to have.
That's Buffalo Bill shit.
And he's more of a just chaotic kind of
he's drunk.
Whatever, I'm just killing it.
He's on meth.
Yeah.
He's just like, I'm doing this now. I'm Wayne. You know what I mean?
Is that what he says? I'm Wayne.
I'm Wayne. I'm Wayne Kellestine. I do drugs and I kill people. He told us.
I see how it is out of character for him.
I don't know. I don't think he really tries to conceal much either.
Right.
But somehow he doesn't get caught. But he's not even really trying to hide anything. I mean, unless, he's just hydrochloric aciding all the people he's killing.
Yeah.
Which we're going to have to do a little more investigating.
I know there's so many mysteries that just don't make sense here. Taz brought multiple pairs of latex neoprene gloves and taught the farm crew members how to use what he called the butt stroke, which is when you hit someone's face with the butt of a gun for maximum damage.
Which he learned from being a cop.
That's important to point out. This is a total cop move.
Yeah.
And they had kind of set up this total Santa's workshop of gun cleaning and bullet prep and weapons training to get ready for pulling these patches.
I just have this visual of these grown men, just like the underwear gnomes in South Park, like work all day, going to work,
whistling,
naked underpant gnomes. Like Santa's workshop is the best description of this to me. Is what it sounds like was going on, and they weren't necessarily told to murder them.
That's really the important thing. Is you see they're prepping to have a huge violent takeover of a group of people, but no one said they had to do that.
Maybe
all they had to do is get the patches. That could be done through force or scaring them or talking sense into them, whatever it took. But you went straight to let's murder all these people. Not that it would be okay if it was one person, but we're not talking about one person. We're talking about a whole group of people.
You know where it changes is when he pulls out the wet work kit.
Oh, is that
because
transition?
Before, it's like, oh, you're going to hit him with this gun, knock him out, take his patch. No. Wayne is like, we're going to burn these people with chemicals and take their vests and they never existed. Like, this is where Wayne is thinking a little different than the rest of them.
But also, everyone else was there and went along with it. Once someone pulls out a wet work kit, you can opt out. People could have left. That's my thinking. And I know that, I don't know, some people get intimidated or groupthink or whatever, but it does seem kind of crazy that most likely these people showed up thinking, oh, maybe we'll beat them up or we'll whatever, scare them. I don't know.
I think it's like this brotherhood thing too, you know? And it's like, you know, well, he won't go that far, so I'll just go as far as he will. And
yeah, maybe they didn't believe
further,
it.
And everyone's looking around going, who's going to stop this? While they're shining guns and shit. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean.
Or maybe this was just a random Wednesday for them, and then this one went too far. I don't know.
They should have been like selling all this crap that they're making. Like they can't make any money.
Yeah,
it sounds like they're pretty skilled.
But you could sell your rocket launcher.
Yeah,
I'm sure those things don't come cheap.
So weird.
Yeah, I don't know. But definitely this was a point where the people that showed up realized that there was something bigger going on. They were going to get into some big trouble that night.
Yeah.
Since Wayne's racism and paranoia and general behavior had become definitely a liability, the president of the Toronto Bandidos, Boxer Musketeer, decided that it was time to pull the patch off Wayne, which of course would not go down quietly. So while they were prepping for the attack, they get wind of this double crossing going on because Taz's girlfriend called and said that some bikers showed up looking for him. And it's of course determined that a hit was put out on him by order of the Bandidos. So the Bandidos from Texas basically said, you kill the couple head guys, and then told Wayne, just take the patches off the other guys. So there's a double cross here.
Yeah.
Both groups are getting the same information of basically probably will make you the leaders if you take patches.
And whoever's left standing will patch.
Exactly.
That's what I think the Houston, they were just like, let these assholes take care of themselves.
And they're probably just like, well, it's survival of the fittest or something.
Yeah.
Whoever's better at this double cross will become a full-fledged bandito.
They do not want them in this club anyway. This is the Island of Misfit Toys ragtag group of Bandidos members.
Of course, this news and new information sent Wayne's crew into a panic, and they figured they need to attack the others sooner rather than later and truly take out the other members before they become victims themselves. So I don't know. They pulled out the wet work kit earlier, but it seems like this might have been the transition where they're like, oh, our lives are in jeopardy, so we have to go a step further. Maybe.
I think the realization that something is going on outside of there's the double cross is happening and it's all clicking and Wayne's on meth for weeks and months and years. And he's just like, oh my God, the paranoia. We got to fucking kill these guys because they're coming for us.
Yeah.
If we don't kill them, they're killing us. We got to fucking kill them, guys. Look around. We're killing them. Paranoid narcissist Wayne. That's the one that comes out then. And he's fucked up.
It's possible that maybe the people weren't on board from his group before, and then hearing that there's threats on their own life maybe brought them on board.
Yeah.
It might be where this is where the transition happened.
I think, yeah. We were prepping before. Now
this
we're
is where it
making
goes
decisions.
into planning. Yeah. So Wayne began making phone calls that were all being recorded, of course, because we said before there was surveillance on them. And Wayne was trying to get everyone to come to the farm, kind of sounding like an emergency meeting. He even called family members of the biker gang members to urge them to meet at the clubhouse.
Diabolical.
Some of the people he called realized that, of course, this really meant that he was trying to lure them in and kill them. So they just hung up.
Maybe let some other people know.
That's kind of crazy to me that it would click for them and then they wouldn't reach out to other people and spread the word.
Ring, ring, ring. Hey, Brianna, it's Courtney. So,
you might get murdered later.
Just so you know.
Just a heads up.
Wayne wants us all dead. And he called me and I'm just letting you know. Click. It's that easy.
It really seems like they could have informed the rest of the group. There was no reason for anybody from the No Surrender crew to show up on this night. If one person knew, they all could have known. And if Wayne could have gotten a hold of them over the phone, then these people that knew could have gotten a hold of them over the phone too.
I just don't think that really many people took Wayne that seriously.
Maybe, yeah.
Obviously, a couple people did, but a lot of people just, they figured that it wasn't going to go that far, you know?
Yeah. Before the meeting, Wayne had his girlfriend, his daughter, and Frank Mather's girlfriend leave the property since, of course, women aren't allowed at their, quote, church meetings. Many of them weren't that concerned for their safety going to this church meeting because the rules state that you can't bring weapons. However, of course, we know that some people did.
Yeah, he's got a girlfriend and a daughter.
Courtney, he's a catch.
I mean, what am I not seeing?
Have you heard his opening line?
Oh, yeah.
I do drugs and I kill people.
I'm almost a doctor and I kill people.
I don't know how you're not moister than Noister right now.
I don't know what's
he
wrong
gets
with me
the
anymore.
ladies.
I just don't know what's wrong with me that I just can't see past the diagnosis of paranoid narcissism.
Oh, yeah, that's a
just
definite red flag.
This man's choosing to be insane. Can you imagine what her life was probably like? Oh my God.
I really can't imagine.
Just sitting in the house, looking out the window and seeing these assholes eating shit out front of the barn, laughing at her man. That's your man.
She makes out with that shit mouth.
Oh, stop.
I'm sorry. I take it back.
Like, somebody come get this asshole because, like, and that's you. That's you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to come get this asshole because that's your man. Oh, fuck my life. I think maybe there's some drugs involved here.
Oh, maybe?
Just a few.
It's safe to assume that she was on
Maybe
meth
it's like
as well.
it's a love affair.
It's meth love.
And his poor daughter.
I know.
She's pretty young. I think she was like 16 or something. Just the example for her of what like men are like, what you're supposed to want to date,
relationships are like,
all of that, and it's like property of patches and Confederate flags, and I mean,
yeah, definitely the peripheral people are additional victims here.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to the No Surrender crew, as they were making their way on the road to meeting, the police investigating another biker's murder were actually tailing them. At the same time, one of the suspects from that murder, named Acorn, made calls from jail telling the members over and over, "I love you, bro," but never actually warning anyone of their imminent deaths.
He made frantic calls where he called them, was like, "I love you, bro. Oh my God, someone's gonna, I'll talk to you later." I mean, he was like having mental breakdowns on these phone calls, but then he would just be like, "All right, I'll see you someday." What the fuck, Acorn?
Again, there's people that could have stopped this.
So many people.
Again, it's just the biker code that they have to be silent. So the police that were tailing them parked several miles away from the farm, and they did surveillance. Ultimately, they saw and heard nothing going on in the farmhouse, and they ended their watch around 12:30 a.m. After all the planning and the commuting, the church meeting was held on Friday, April 7th, 2006, starting around 10:30 p.m. The No Surrender crew came into the barn, and they didn't know that Taz was in the rafters above with a rifle, wearing a bulletproof vest. There were other bikers that were keeping watch outside, and they listened to police scanners inside the house. As Luis Chopper Raposo walked into the barn, he heard a noise and he looked up into the rafters to see Taz with his rifle. So Luis pulled out a sawed-off shotgun and he shot up at Taz, and he hit him in the chest, but he didn't, of course, do much damage because Taz was wearing a bulletproof vest. But Taz returned fire and shot and killed Luis Chopper Raposo. And it was actually a shot that hit him through his upraised middle finger, which was found at the autopsy to be shattered.
That is the most biker way to go out I've ever heard.
Absolutely. So they're having this firefight up into the rafters, and Taz is shooting down, and he just flips him off, and then he shoots him and dies.
Looks up, flips the fucking finger at this guy. See you in hell, asshole. Right? And
then he's gone.
Shot through his fucking middle finger, and he's killed. Not just like, oh, I'm wounded in my finger. And the coroner was like, yeah, his middle finger is completely shattered. At autopsy. I just think it's the most biker way to go I've ever heard.
That's definitely kind of a
Fuck
blaze of glory.
Yeah. No kidding.
So both Paul Big Polly Sinopoli and George Crash Kriarakis turned to flee the scene when this happened. At which point Wayne pulled out a handgun and shot and wounded them while they were yelling, "I'm here to pull your patches. This is being done by the order of the states," meaning, of course, the U.S. Bandido leadership. So Wayne, Taz, and the rest of the farm crew round up the No Surrender crew and begin holding them hostage at gunpoint. At 12:37 a.m., John Boxer Muscadier's girlfriend calls, and he talks to her, and he just acts normal. Of course, he's trying to keep up the facade of normalcy because of this biker code of never asking for help, and especially never calling the cops.
We've got some times in our lives where we have to, break our own rules on occasion. This is the time.
Your life is in danger.
But he's as good as dead anyway.
Yeah, he probably knows he won't make it no matter what.
I mean, yeah, he just watched one of them get murdered from somebody shooting at him from the rafters. Like, that was probably some intense shit.
So John simply says to his girlfriend, "How's the baby? I'll see you in a couple hours. I love you," that kind of stuff. And he never lets her know that he's in danger, and he never alerts her that he's being taken hostage. And, of course, that he might be murdered. The farm crew and the No Surrender crew were in a state of heavy drinking at this point while the hostages are being held. Wayne continued to drink heavily completely through the night while going between pulling patches and murder in these crazy shouting rants.
Yeah, he's fucked up, and he's just wandered around screaming in people's face.
Completely belligerent, alternating between this crazy rants and then killing people, then pulling patches, just
pointing guns at people's head, walking around screaming at them, cussing them out, calling them the worst, like trying to be like mentally abusive on top of the fact he's like kicking them in the face and like pushing them to the ground. Just your typical like scene from Reservoir Dogs, like when they're just holding them. It's fucked up.
It's crazy. I can't imagine these people. It's so sad. So Wayne approached 37-year-old Jamie Goldberg Flans and pistol whipped him while screaming, "I'm saving you for last, you fucking Jew." And this was definitely the person that he focused on the most, of course, because of his deep-seated hatred. Jamie wasn't even a full member of the club, and he had no criminal record. He ran a computer business, and he was more concerned with his wife and daughters than the biker club. But of course, Wayne clearly had it out for him because he was Jewish. Wayne began dancing around him and singing the German national anthem. He was clearly tormenting Jamie Flans more than anyone else. 28-year-old newlywed rugby player George Crash Kriarakis had been shot in the stomach by this point. And he pleaded to go back to his wife and family, but he was just told to be quiet. When various victims screamed in agony, Francesco Bammer Salerno said, "We are bikers. We're not the fucking Boy Scouts, so stop your whining."
And he was one that was in line to get murdered. He just looks over and he goes, "Hey, we're all going to die here, so shh. Because you're annoying me." Like, basically, that's pretty much what he's saying.
Just take it like a man, kind of. It's so crazy.
We're all miserable, so shut the fuck up.
Wayne continually tried to get John Boxer Muscadier to participate. And he was the one, like we said earlier, who was the president. But John refused, and he wanted to call for help for his brothers, who were basically bleeding to death at this point. John refused to betray his biker brothers, and he laughed in Wayne's face. He was very defiant through the whole process.
Everything that I had read John Boxer was just a really nice guy, really devoted to the club, and that everybody was just pretty fine with him, but that Wayne really like had an issue and just never really liked him. And I also think there was kind of a Wayne wanted his position.
It was a jealousy thing.
That's all it ever is.
Eventually, Wayne decided that it was time to end the whole thing, and he marched the No Surrender crew outside. John Boxer Musketeer said to Wayne, "Do me first. I want to go out like a man." So John was forced to sit in his car, and Wayne shot him execution style in the head, followed by another shot to the chest. George Crash Kriarakis was the next to be executed, and he, through the whole process, was praying in Greek while he was crying. 52-year-old George Pony Jessam was singled out after him. Pony was a truck driver who had actually recently been diagnosed with cancer, and he had only joined the biker club to find some friends for companionship in his final days, basically.
So sad.
It really is. I mean, yeah, he was just wanted to have some people to hang out with.
He just wanted some new friends, and like he wanted to, have like a good time if he was going to have a limited time and meet some new people. He liked to ride motorcycles, and it's
He's here for
tragic.
a good time, not a long time.
No.
Yeah, he just completely got caught up in the crossfire of this. It's really sad. George Pony Jessam seemed to kind of accept his fate in his final moments. And maybe it was because of his diagnosis or something that had something to do with it. So as he was killed, he actually didn't make a sound. Paul Big Polly Sinopoli had recently been granted permission to leave the motorcycle gang because he needed to deal with some health issues that were resulting from his extreme obesity. But he hadn't left in time to avoid this massacre that happened this night.
That's another bummer. They were like, yeah, it's cool. We understand. You got serious health problems and you can't ride a motorcycle anymore.
So we are giving you permission, but he didn't make it out in time.
So sad.
So he was so close.
He was out.
Paul had already been shot by this time in the thigh, and he is said to have been hysterically crying and screaming when Wayne shot him again. But Paul survived because Wayne's gun jammed. Marcelo Aravena went and got Wayne another gun, which he, of course, used to shoot and kill Paul Sinopoli. Wayne instructed Jamie Flans and the other members of the No Surrender crew to clean up all the blood with bleach. The entire time, all these men, it's important to point out, had cell phones on them. They could have called for help at any time, but they didn't because they really wanted to be fully patched Bandido members.
They wanted to be the cool kids, and that was such
more
a
important
drive
to them.
I can't understand how they had phones in their pockets the whole time.
They could have stopped this. They could have reported it. There's so many things that they could have done at any time.
Any one of them.
And I always think of, in this situation, like I try and put myself in that situation. What would I do? You've got to imagine there's got to be this voice in the back of your head that's like, hey, I could go out and just call 911.
Yeah.
Anonymously. And then, hey, police show up. I don't have to say anything. And then once I'm alone in interrogation, I can be the one to say, hey, I called you guys.
And you can use that to deal later too.
There's so many opportunities for you to save these people.
Oh, it's because of the fucking biker code.
And that's crazy.
There's nothing physically holding these people. I mean, there's guns to their heads, but this is all just motivated by this code, the rules of the biker code. It's just, and these are adults, Again, I always say, these are grown men.
Yeah, there was just a lot of opportunity to stand up. And that's really devastating that nobody did. There was actually one person that ended up turning Crown's evidence and cooperating. And this person is, of course, he's anonymous and he's known only as MH because now he's in witness protection. He says that while this was going on, many of the members were trying to shake each other's hands before they killed them, trying to have this kind of sense of respect and dignity while marching them to their execution.
It's like on the Titanic, how the band played because it was respectable. And, this is what we were hired to do. We're going to do our job. The band played on as the goddamn ship sank. Get off the boat.
Unreal to me that they were shaking the hands of their murderers.
Shaking their hands, yeah.
It's just so sad. So this anonymous person, MH, shot and killed 43-year-old Frank Bam Bam or Bammer Salerno. And Bam Bam wouldn't shake his hand when Frank asked him to. His last words were to think of his recently newborn son named Mario. 31-year-old Michael Little Mikey Trotta was the next to be led outside. And without saying a word, he was executed. The person we talked about earlier, Jamie Flans, was the last to be killed because, like we said, Wayne wanted to make sure that Jamie suffered as much as possible. So the whole time that he was led outside, he was talking about his kids. And by this point, it was morning time and the sun was coming up. So he had been tortured all night by this group of bikers. Michael Taz Sandham ended up having to be the one to execute Jamie Flans because by this point, Wayne was too drunk to do anything. But Taz's first shot didn't kill Jamie, and he was too upset to fire another round. So a third biker, Dwight Mushy, took the gun and shot Jamie in the head. This person, Taz, has remorse.
Yeah.
He has trouble pulling the trigger. I mean, it just says to me, throughout this time, there's so many people that are like feeling bad about what they're doing and could call for help and don't. This is one of the things that's so upsetting to me about groups that murder together.
Yeah.
Because it really is so many opportunities for one person to just remove themselves from the situation and report it. There's so many opportunities. It multiplies exponentially for them to report and to stop it and to save a life.
Taz is the one feeling badly, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's also the one that was in the rafters with a bulletproof vest on.
But at the end of the night, there's already so many people dying.
Yeah.
Maybe it's harder for him at close range or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy. There's just a lot of opportunity for this to not be as severe as it was. Even though Wayne was belligerently drunk by this time, he was still shouting orders and he forced the farm crew to place each of the bodies into their own cars. They were so grossed out by John Boxer Musketeer being in the front seat that no one wanted to drive that particular car. So they hitched that car to George Jessom's tow truck. The plan was to leave all the vehicles with the bodies inside them on the side of the highway in Kitchener, which was well-known Hells Angels territory, because they hoped that this would send police in the wrong direction and make them look at the Hells Angels first.
Not a bad idea.
I get what they're doing there, but also forensics?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's drug logic.
It's just the simplest point A to point B thing. Like, let's just put the cars here and they'll think it's Hells Angels.
Like, it's that simple.
That's all the police do. Jamie Flans's car was almost out of gas when they left the farm. So they decided to abandon all the vehicles in a cornfield on a farm that was only about 10 miles away. That's about as far as they could make it on Jamie's gas. After that, they returned to Wayne's farm to finish cleaning up. By 8 a.m., a farmer noticed several vehicles parked in the field and called the owner of the property. When they investigated further, they immediately noticed all the bodies inside the car and they called the police.
That would be insane.
I can't imagine the kind of trauma of discovering all that. You just think it's this innocent thing, like, oh, my neighbor's got cars in his property. Let me call and make sure everything's okay. Calls up the neighbor. They're both looking at it together. and just the grisly scene that they stumbled upon.
Horrible.
Wayne told 2 of his friends to be his alibi, and they said that they were out drinking beers at the farmhouse the night of the murders. To me, it kind of like you place yourself at the farmhouse where they're going to find evidence. It just doesn't, again, biker logic doesn't make sense.
Wayne's just stupid.
He really is.
Over and over. And he's very, he's arrogant, I think is maybe the word, in a way that he just thinks that, they'll just believe what I say.
Yeah.
And this makes me believe that he really was, a serious cooperator. That I can just talk my way through it. I do it all the time. And they'll only give me 18 months.
Yeah. Wayne had been the last person to see a lot of the men that were now dead in their cars not far from his farmhouse. Emails between Michael Taz Sandham and Luis Chopper Raposo were found in Luis Raposo's car. They had been printed out to show at the meeting, and this was major evidence that led detectives to suspect Taz and the farm crew really early on in the investigation. When the police asked what Wayne had been doing at the time of the murders, he replied, quote, 4 words: drank beer, got high.
Great video.
Yeah, this interrogation is absolutely insane.
It's 23 minutes long on YouTube, and he's just irritating.
He really comes off as not just simply defiant, but just really a complete asshole. I mean, he goes back and forth from saying, you can't charge me with anything. You can't hold me here. I'm free to go. He's just over and over trying to kind of flex on the detectives and just be like, oh, you ain't got shit on me.
You're just holding me here while you search my house.
You're can do whatever I want.
To me. You're just trying to get me to say something so you can tear my house apart. He's just so stupid again and again and again. He's like, you can't hold me here. What do you hold me for? Well, you can't hold me. Well, what do you hold me for? Well, we're not holding you here, Wayne. We're just talking. And then you would think oh, okay, so I'm free to go. I'll leave, right? No, he just keeps talking because he loves the attention.
Exactly.
He loves it.
Yeah,
he's such a dick.
Really rude to them, but on top of that, just loving that anyone's talking to him about it.
And
because obviously he's important enough in the biker world to bring in.
Yeah.
That's what he loves.
The cop is funny too because he's like, listen, Wayne, I'm giving you a chance.
Right.
I'm trying to help you here. I've known you for a long time. And that's funny to me too. He's like, the cop's just got his number because he's been cooperating with them for years. But fuck the police and all that shit, right? This guy's such a dick.
Yeah. Complete hypocrite.
Yeah.
He uses the biker rules when it works in his favor, basically.
Yes.
Only a couple days later, Wayne, Frank Mather, Brett Bull Gardner were arrested at the farmhouse, and Wayne was charged with first-degree murder on April 9th, 2006. When he was arrested, Wayne told the police that he was, quote, 10 foot tall and invincible. When led to the crime scene, he blurted out that he wished he'd been shot too, even though no one had told Wayne that anyone had been shot. This is kind of the important thing that we see in the Brendan Dassey confession, that kind of stuff. The fact that there's withheld information, you have to, as an interrogator, see what the suspect is telling you that nobody else knows. And this was that detail that nobody knew. So he completely burned himself on this one.
Yeah, because we've also got Hell's Angels and shit blowing each other up. So, I mean, it really could have been anything.
It really could have.
Stabbed to death, we burned them to death in their car. It could be something insane.
He revealed this, and it was definitely, they knew it was him.
They knew it was him.
Well, I'm sure they knew it was him before that.
Fucking Wayne, he must have just been an asshole in teen years.
Oh, man.
I
can't imagine.
I feel like Weiner probably came early on.
That was a nickname from what, 12?
That's what I'm thinking. He probably, because he eats shit off the ground, so he might be that guy that just pulls his dick out at inappropriate times. Mm-hmm. Wayne and his wiener. Boys will be boys,
Good, clean fun.
Good, clean fun. The best kind.
To their surprise, Wayne's alibi witnesses, his friends that said they were drinking with him, were also arrested for first-degree murder because they had been seen helping clean up the barn by those police that were surveilling them nearby.
You try to do your friend a solid.
Just be an alibi witness, and now you've got a murder rap.
Just tell him that I was with you, okay? That's all you got to do. It's all cool. We were drinking beer. It's chill as fuck. And then first-degree murder charge. Excuse me, officer. I got something to say.
Yeah.
As loud as possible.
That's when you have to flip and just be like, yeah, he told me. But nobody would do that with the
Wayne
bikers.
is a terrible friend.
I know. Who would vouch for Wayne? That's the real question.
Ugh.
Wayne's farm was a hotbed of forensic evidence, from blood and DNA from the victims to many of Wayne's guns being found to be the murder weapons. There was also bleach all around the scene, and the floor of the barn was soaked in hydrochloric acid. They also found a ring with skin flakes on it, which was tested and later found to belong to Jamie Flans. So police began to hone in on Taz Sandham and observed him scouring his car's interior and matched his tire tracks to ones at the farmhouse. Infighting between the remaining farm crew, mostly between email, also showed that the power had shifted after the murders. The fight about Taz being a cop had started over again, and the rumors were flying and everyone was going back and forth. Taz hacked into fellow murderer Dwight D. Mushy's email to impersonate him and then send emails to the others denying his past as a police officer. But Taz was ultimately denounced completely and nobody bought it. And the Bandidos worldwide issued this statement to announce at all their church meetings, which read, "We do not have or never will have cop or ex-cops in our club." 2 months later, after thorough investigation and surveillance, Michael Taz Sandham, Dwight D. Mushy, and Marcelo Aravena were arrested. It's
kind of interesting, too, because initially, like, Taz had been, he was kind of like, he would talk a good game, and he thought a lot of himself, talked about himself a lot, patted himself on the back. And then the rumors started that he's a cop, and he's like running scared. And this is why I don't know that Wayne, I feel like Wayne didn't know, because Wayne would go, "No, that guy's great. Like, he's not a cop. Don't worry." He'd vouch for him. And I just don't see Wayne putting himself out there for anybody.
Yeah.
Unless he really did believe it. But so he was kind of like, Sandham was the one that was the tough guy. But then when he couldn't follow through and kill Flans, and Mushy took the gun and did it, power switched, and now Mushy's the tough guy of the group. And so then it's like, oh, and this fucker's a cop. It was like the perfect way to push him out. And when he's hacking into emails and like trying to write these letters to everybody, like, he's not a cop, I promise, right? I mean, he's just running scared.
I think at this point, it seems like the other bikers saw this as weakness.
That's it.
With the gun thing and not being able to shoot and having the email war. I mean, tough bikers don't fight over email.
Are you
They're
sure?
Not keyboard cowboys, I think.
I swear, I was thinking the same thing the whole time. Like, we're emailing?
Yeah.
We're bringing email. And the other thing that was funny to me is how that one guy came to the church meeting with the printed emails to prove, like he's got the receipts.
He really is.
It's like a Housewives reunion when they show up with printed text messages.
I was just going to say that. This seems very Housewives, not bikers.
Oh, this is the Housewives of Shedden.
It's just tweet wars completely.
That would be the greatest show on television. Oh, man. I'm into it.
Just the whole thing. It's very petty, and the male ego in addition to pettiness.
So petty.
The anonymous man who had killed Frank Salerno, who, like we said, was known only as MH, contacted Constable Dyack, and he talked under conditions. He demanded to receive full immunity along with $1,300 per month for life and free rent. In exchange, he agreed to wear a wire and also testify as Crown's evidence at the trial.
$1,300 a month does not seem like that much.
No.
For life? I mean, that's all he asked for?
Yeah, it's not like this was the 80s. This was 2006.
Yeah.
So.
Like, you shoot for the moon, right?
Yeah.
I want $1 million.
Maybe that goes really far in Canada.
Maybe.
In LA, it's like $1,300 maybe gets you like a new t-shirt here.
T-shirt, yeah. I mean, if that. You can pay a bill.
It's so crazy.
I mean, what are you going to do with $1,300 at this point living in Southern California?
Yeah, I don't know. I've got to assume that he just thought the money would go further, or
I saw that.
I don't know.
And immediately was just like, huh.
Or maybe that was a negotiated price and he started out at like $3,000 and then it worked its way down. He gets
free rent.
Yeah, so he doesn't have that bill.
Okay.
Right.
So this is beer and booze money, right?
$500 for Altamont beer.
Yeah. I mean, you can buy the Hells Angels security for that.
Right.
Twice. Couple times.
During interrogation, Taz Sandham denied 223 times that he was involved. And he maintained that he was actually in Winnipeg when the murders happened.
This is why we nag people. Because the 224th time, he finally goes, all right, you broke me down. It finally worked. You said it 224 times. And now I'm going to tell you the truth. See? This is why we nag.
This
is
crazy.
No, this is what it is. This is an idiot trying to get away with some bullshit. Just keep asking. Because eventually they're going to fucking crack. The 224th time they'll tell you the truth.
Right.
It's so amazing to just see it play out. And it's like, could we have asked Brendan like 5 more times in Making a Murderer?
Yeah.
I mean, and then the 6th time, it's so interesting.
That's the thing is the interrogator's job is, of course, to assess whether they're dealing with an actual like seasoned criminal.
Yeah.
Or a 16-year-old boy with intellectual limitations. You have to be able to know the difference.
And this guy's an ex-cop.
So he's really resistant. He's like, I know if I just wait this out.
I didn't ever find it online, but I never specifically looked for Sandham's interrogation. But that would be probably an amazing joust.
Interesting, like cop against cop.
Yeah, because he knows what they're doing.
Yep.
But he's also got his own, like, he's an idiot in his own right. He makes stupid choices. He's in the fucking rafters and he's there.
Yeah.
And then he denies it 223 times.
He also told the detectives that he was not a member of the Bandidos and that he'd left the club in 2005.
What are we doing here?
But they've got all this surveillance. They're clearly on top of what's going on in the biker community. They know
like
he's involved.
Manifest in their, fucking bike events and meetings and shit.
Taz later tried to cut deals and changed his story multiple times, painting himself as someone who was trying to stop the killings the entire time. Even while he was being confronted with the fact that, for example, he brought rubber gloves to the scene, all that kind of information.
Yeah, he had on a bulletproof vest while he was in the rafters, pointing down at people like prey. I mean, it was crazy.
He just kept trying to paint himself as part of the victims. At a January 2007 preliminary hearing, Wayne gave reporters the finger and cussed out the sketch artist. The trial didn't begin until March 31st, 2009, and all 6 men pleaded not guilty.
Not one of them. It's just so stupid.
Brett Bull Gardner made sexual advances towards the courtroom sketch artist during the trial, and he seemed to only be paying attention to her. He actually passed her a note reading, "Why aren't you smiling?" and then asked why they weren't dating.
Why? Why aren't we dating?
Do I really need to tell you?
You're having to plead not guilty in a murder trial. And you're guilty. I mean, what the fuck are we even talking about this? And there was another one of these guys, I can't remember which one it is. It's another one of the No Surrender crew that had a relationship with one of the other, it was like a bailiff or something.
Oh, God.
Like this case is just like online dating now, but it's like court dating. I mean, it was ridiculous. There was like all this shit with chicks that worked in this, because there was like 10 cases, because there's 8 guys who got a prosecute or whatever. So there's a ton of different hearings and trials, and it happened in like 4 of them.
That's crazy.
Isn't that weird?
I didn't see that. That's nuts. Yeah, all these women that are falling for these biker
just
murders.
Hard up. Just any dick will do.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's pretty low standards. Let's be real. Many people explained that they really couldn't understand why these murders had happened. But a fellow Bandito came out and said that at best it was meth logic. That's all it was. It was logical in Wayne's mind because he was whacked out on methamphetamine.
And that right there is the professor of this whole crew.
Right. This is the biker scholar.
That's the Einstein. Baby Einstein right there. Because nobody else put it better.
In addition to the meth, Wayne was also, of course, upset that he was pushed aside by the Toronto Bandidos, who chose to promote John Muscadier to the position that Wayne wanted.
Oh, poor Wayne.
Right, like...
fucking Wayne.
Yeah. Wayne felt that he's kind of been sort of a mentor to John Muscadier, and he felt betrayed that the club thought he was too much of a loose cannon and liability to promote him. Wayne just kind of felt like he was the one living the biker lifestyle. You know, what the fuck? How could he get passed over? Taz was actually one of the few people to testify in his own defense at trial. And he spent most of his testimony crying instead of putting on this tough guy image that he'd really worked so hard to cultivate. He kept screaming that it was unfair that he was charged with first-degree murder. Even though the victims lost their lives, he was the one that maintained it was unfair to him. He said that he wanted to be a bandito to infiltrate them and basically be a crime fighter snitch.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Like he's a unauthorized undercover agent is what he kind of maintained. While Taz testified that he was only concerned for his family, George Kriarakis' father shouted, "You didn't think about mine," in the courtroom. Which I'm glad somebody yelled at him because, of course, it's just crazy that he was being so selfish and maintaining it was unfair to him.
It's so interesting to me, too, because there's not a lot about Kriarakis other than he was a family man, he was Greek, and it was like, went to church, you know, like, but a good guy. But then he has this, like, alternate lifestyle of being this, like, motorcycle club biker guy. It's very interesting.
Marcelo Aravena testified that he was too afraid to stop the killings because he knew that he wasn't friends with these guys and he would have been murdered too if he went against them at all. But Marcelo was 6'2" and 280 pounds and a former MMA fighter. So a lot of people, of course, questioned if he was really, truly afraid of Wayne, who was in his 60s and drunk, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a convenient statement.
It's just excuses.
Yeah, that's just bullshit.
The testimony of the anonymous Crown's witness, known only as MH, is what really secured their convictions. He cried occasionally while testifying and told the court that the Canadian Bandidos were basically the laughingstock of the biker world. He said, quote, "They were at the very bottom rung of biker gangs. Some were in their 40s but still lived with their parents. They were not making any money. Many of them had been rejected by the Hells Angels, and half of them didn't even own a motorbike." The two alibi witnesses who were charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder were later reduced and charged with 8 counts of being an accessory after the fact. And they ended up serving only 2-year prison sentences.
The moral of that story is to make sure that you have good friends. Because
the company you keep is very important.
Oh, geez.
Choose your friends wisely.
Our moms tell us.
Right.
Right? And they're so controlling. They're nagging. They don't know what they're talking about. And they tell us again and again. And then the 224th time, we're like, oh, we should have good friends.
I could have avoided that murder rap.
Could have avoided a lot.
On October 29th, 2009, Wayne Kellestine, Frank Mather, Brett Gardner, Michael Sandham, Dwight Mushy, and Marcelo Aravena were all convicted of first-degree murder and given mandatory life sentences. When the verdict was read, Marcelo Aravena stood up and spit at his lawyer while shouting, "Fuck you, Tony, fuck you."
Fuck you, Tony. Like, oh, man.
He then lunged forward and he tried to assault his lawyer while screaming that he was going to kill the judge.
He hated Tony.
Crazy.
Whoa.
This behavior, of course, made it easier to get their appeals denied, and it was just a prime example of his instability.
I want to know what other moments of Marcelo Aravena snapping we have, because I know there's more.
The lack of restraint in the courtroom is not the only example of this.
No, not at all. Not at all. It leads up to this. I really want to know like who else he's just spitting on and trying to attack.
After all was said and done, the entire Toronto Bandidos chapter had been killed, and the entire Winnipeg chapter had been imprisoned, changing the entire landscape, leaving the Hells Angels as the controlling outlaw biker gang in Canada. Wayne decided that he wanted a new trial in 2014, saying that his defense team was jaded by other bikers saying shocking and outlandish things about him. Wayne, Marcelo, Brett, Dwight, and Frank all lost an appeal for new trials in 2015. They're eligible for parole in 2034. Wayne will be 85 at the time.
And he'll still just be a fucking asshole.
He'll just have an old man voice, but be saying crazy shit.
Absolutely. And it's funny, too, because once everyone was dead, and then so there's no more Toronto chapter. So the whole balance of the Canadian biker gang kind of shifted with this. And also there was the meth trade. And that's what motivated a lot of these biker gangs, and mostly what was motivating them to try to kind of cut out Bandidos, because they wanted meth money coming in.
Absolutely.
And they were not bringing in enough. And so Wayne saw this, and this is kind of some smart Wayne shit in meth logic, right? Is like, well, if I get rid of these people, we've got this, and I can put this here in territory and money, and I'll be the only one left, and I'll be sitting on this pile of money. It's totally how Wayne looked at it. And this whole thing is meth.
Yeah.
It just breaks down to that. I mean, he'll be 85. You think he's still going to be just like fucking crazy?
Full of piss and vinegar.
He'll come out like the straight edge sober psycho, right? Just, telling us all, well, you shouldn't do that. And it's like, you're fucking Wayne Kellestine.
He's going to be one of those assholes that comes out of prison just talking about Jesus. Flips the entire thing, and it's just like, you could be saved like me. She's like, no, you're still a dick deep down inside. You just have a Bible now.
Oh, I could never in a million years take him seriously.
No.
If he tried to like say anything other than I'm Wayne Kellestine, I do drugs and I kill people.
Right.
That's him. It's not a character. That's him.
That's the only acceptable version of Wayne. This one is just a crazy story. I
read this blurb about it, right? And I was like, this is a fucking crazy story. It almost, it's kind of one of those like just like Charlie Manson and all the girls. And they just follow their fucking leader. And, eventually someone will stop it. And that's what Linda Kasabian said, too, is that like, oh, well, I didn't think it was that serious. And she's sitting in a driveway all of a sudden. And she's like, oh, shit, this is happening. It's kind of similar. It's that like group think, peer pressure.
And it doesn't really hit everyone until it's already way too late.
You've already got a gun in your hand or something.
But I just feel like, I don't know, like I said,
it doesn't have to get there.
I put myself in these situations and I'm like,
yes.
I would never see any of this and not report it. I'm hesitant, like when we look at interrogations and false confessions, I'm always like, lawyer up, don't talk to the cops. But when it comes to shit like this, someone is going to get murdered. You need to call the cops now.
So when Acorn calls me and is like, I love you. Oh, I miss you so much. What do you mean you're going to miss me? Nothing. I've been thinking about you. Click. And then someone's like, hey, Acorn's calling everybody and they're going to murder everybody. I mean, I'm making a phone call.
I'm making several phone calls.
Not only that, but this is a great opportunity to get rid of that son of a bitch that everybody hates.
Yeah.
Like
this could have been completely different. This could have
opportunity.
just been an opportunity to get rid of Wayne and kick him out and say, you're on your own, dude. We don't agree with you. You're causing us problems. We can do our own thing and be successful without you.
One of my favorite aspects of this story is the person, MH.
Yes.
That they are just living amongst us. They're just living in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he didn't go far. It's $1,300 a month and free rent. Like, he's not leaving Shedden. This guy is just living amongst everybody.
One of the local residents.
Multiple murderer. So bizarre to me. Full immunity. Change his name. Let him live somewhere else. He's cool.
It's very scary.
Yeah. And the whole time when you're reading about it, MH is it's like a peripheral character. It's like always at the very, very end, they'll mention, oh, and this guy is still out. I mean, to me, that's like a really important part of the story.
Yeah, that should be the beginning, the middle, the end. It should be everywhere that there was an additional murderer that is just out there amongst the general population.
It's just insane. The other thing if you're interested, if you Google image and stuff, you can see like all the cars in the field. They just pop the trunk or whatever it is, the hatchback thing. And there's just people stuffed in the backs of these cars, just in the field, in a circle, just a bunch of them, just bodies in the back of them. And the camera crews or whatever, they didn't give a shit. They just took pictures. You just see all these fucking people just stuffed in these cars. And it's really, that was the first thing I saw. I was like, how is this related to a biker gang?
Yeah, it's a horrific, just heartbreaking scene that all leads back to these Canadian Bandidos.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Bikers.
So I think that's pretty much it for this biker episode, the Shedden Massacre, Wayne Kellestine. There's not much more you can say about Weiner.
There's really not, that he hasn't told us himself.
So we will be back next week with, I think, another biker story. But before we get going, you can find the link to our thread list for merch and Patreon in the show notes every week. So the new people that are on our Patreon are Emily, Cassidy, Super Chelsea, Megan, and Angie. So thanks again, guys, for your support on Patreon.
Thanks so much.
So I think that's pretty much it. And then we'll be back to talk about one more biker case next week. And then by that time, I think I'll be ready to move on from patches and old ladies.
I'm so in deep. It's just been so
You're
much.
way more immersed than I am. I'm trying to keep at an arm's length because it's just too overwhelming for me.
Just washing over me.
So I'll definitely be done by the time next week's over.
Me too.
So we'll see you next week for another biker episode.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Brianna.
And I'm Courtney.
From Crime Screen Podcast,
where every week we talk about movies, TV shows, and docuseries based on true crimes.
We discuss all the bingeable and unforgettable true crime that we're all watching on our screens at home.
Like Making a Murderer, Mommy Dead and Dearest, or Dear Zachary.
So if you're like us and have the problem of scaring off people at parties with serial killer facts and true crime stories,
or you just try to talk about whatever you watched and get horrified looks from coworkers and even your exasperated significant other,
then we are your new friends to discuss all the true crime with.
Follow Crime Screen Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay updated.
And subscribe to Crime Screen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever else you listen to podcasts.
Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? That's where HomeAdvisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, HomeAdvisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free HomeAdvisor app to start your next project. Finding the right pros for home projects can be tough and spark a lot of questions like, how do I find a pro who can help? Will they do a good job? Will I get a fair price? That's where HomeAdvisor can help. From leaky faucets to major remodels, HomeAdvisor connects you to the right pro for the job in seconds and even helps you get a fair price. Read reviews, check project cost guides, and book appointments. Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free HomeAdvisor app to start your next project.